Oh, the Iranians are not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz. That's that's finished. That debate was over on day one uh, after the war started. That's for certain. And if the United States does escalate, whether militarily or economically, the Iranians are going to escalate. As I said, the new chair of the Supreme National Security Council is itself a major signal and message to the United States and the Israeli regime that Iran is going to be far less tolerant about aggression, and Iran's response will be much more severe. So it doesn't matter what type of aggression it is. It's just Iran is going to make life for them much more miserable if they try to make life for Iranians more miserable. Uh, of course, the Iranians were not. In the past, they hit back hard, and during the past few months, Iran obviously had the upper hand, and that's why people say the Iranians hold the cards, as we often hear in the West. But I think now Iran is going to be significantly more assertive and more tough in dealing with Trump and Netanyahu and whoever is associated with them. And one other thing is that Iran's tolerance and patience in the Strait of Hormuz can change. I mean, right now, Iran is allowing some ships to go through for different reasons. Some countries were not at war with Iran. Some countries are friendly to Iran. Some countries in the Persian Gulf do deals with Iran. But if the Americans try a new method to strangle Iran, then the Iranians will strangle the U.S. economy further.
But we've heard yesterday Donald Trump saying that the Strait is going to be owned by the United States sooner or later. Here is what he said.
And after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States.
Yeah. How?
Look at those seals in the background, just clapping, like in a zoo or something. Anyway,
I'm sure most of them don't know what Donald Trump is talking about.
They're mostly the MAGA cult. The less intelligent and more uneducated people in the United States. Not that all the the intelligent, the educated and intelligent people are much better. I mean, Hillary. I remember Hillary Clinton called Trump's supporters deplorables, if I'm not mistaken, and she said like half of them are deplorables, and she was right. She's just as deplorable herself, and so are the people who surround her and the likes of her. But in any case, these people are pretty ignorant. Yeah, I would assume.
When it comes to the new mechanism of the Strait of Hormuz, how much of the negotiations or what has happened so far is positive? Are they getting to the final stage? And what is the current situation between the two, Iran and Oman?
The negotiations are over. They've been over for a long time now. There's no disagreement between Iran and Oman. They're just not going to declare an agreement because there's no need to. It's only going to help. Trump will say, "Well, we won," when it has nothing to do with Trump. An agreement between Iran and Oman has nothing to do with the United States. If Iran and Oman agreed to, and they have, on how to coordinate over the Strait of Hormuz, it's not going to bring about any change today because we're at war with the United States. The Strait of Hormuz is going to remain more or less closed until the United States changes its policy. So right now, the Iranians and the Omanis have no reason to declare anything because Trump will just misuse whatever statement they make and declare it as some sort of victory, which it isn't. So whenever the situation changes and trade through the Strait of Hormuz and in the Persian Gulf normalizes or is moving towards normalization, then Iran and Oman will declare their agreement and Iran will begin to implement it. And as you know, in accordance with the agreement, all ships that enter or exit the Persian Gulf and use the Strait of Hormuz, Iran will definitely have oversight on all the whole process, and ultimately, and there will be fees. There won't be a toll. There's a legal issue behind the terminology, but they will take fees, and those fees will be for various reasons: insurance, environmental issues, and so on. But in any case, there will be fees. But no announcement is planned for the time being.
As you know, Abraham Lincoln is getting back to the United States because of the problems they were facing, and the morale, the situation, the condition with the food and everything, those difficulties. And it was reported by New York Times that the supply problem aboard the Abraham Lincoln are a direct result of Iranian strike that destroyed the majority of U.S. Navy logistics infrastructure in Bahrain and in the UAE and Oman. And it means that the Iranian strategy so far put the American Navy under tremendous pressure. If they want to stay there, they don't have the supply line. So it's not going to change with the new one that is coming, is going to the region and replacing the Abraham Lincoln, which is Washington. George Washington is going to go there and replace that. It's going to be the same for. They need to to replace these aircraft carriers. I don't know, each and every 3-4 months. That could be the case. And when it comes to the continuation of the blockade, American blockade, is it something? We know that Iran, as you've mentioned before on this podcast, that Iran is experiencing some difficulties because of the blockade. But what is the assessment on the way that the United States is continuing that, and the way that Iran is preparing itself for the continuation of this blockade?
Well, just two minor footnotes. I'm growing old. Two minor footnotes here that I just like to point out that have nothing to do with your question. One is that I think it's interesting for people to know that George Washington, the first U.S. president, was a major slave owner. He had many slaves, like I think between 200 and 300 slaves. And Abraham Lincoln, who is often described as the person who brought freedom to the slaves in the United States, he did not believe in equality at all between whites and the slaves. And he also said that I want to preserve the Union, whether it's with slavery or without slavery. And so, I just want to deal a bit with that mythology that exists. But with regards to Iran and the United States, there are two different parts, I guess. One is the economic situation. The government is increasingly moving towards policies that are made for long-term hardship and difficulty. So we've moved into a wartime. We're moving into a wartime economy, and I think the expectation is that this war could last for until the end of Trump's presidency. And the second part is the military aspect, and that is, I think, something which is worrying the Americans, because Iran is preparing very swiftly. They're building large numbers of missiles, large numbers of drones, and they are moving much faster than the Americans, who are very slow in rebuilding their reserves. And Iran's drone bases and missile bases and military infrastructure and its command and control centers are all being improved, and the technology is also improving. They're making advances on their capabilities, and also with regards to air defense and their navy, which is, Iran never had a major navy. Whenever Trump says he destroyed the navy and the air force, both are nonsense. Iran's air force is mostly comprised of very old planes, or somewhat old planes, some of them very old planes. But the key, the important planes, or the important assets, are all underground, and they were taken underground very swiftly. And the Navy it is not a global world. It is not it's just these are like, it's not a large Navy. There are a number of boats and ships that were basically for protecting the territorial waters of the country. Nothing more. The real naval assets are the speedboats that and the mini submarines, and these sort of assets that have been prepared and designed for this sort of warfare. And they are hidden in underground tunnels. And as we all know, the Americans have not destroyed a single uh, underground base in the country throughout these few months. And that's why I don't believe that the United States destroyed the Iranian nuclear program at all and did no real major damage. Because if they cannot destroy Iran's missile bases, which are deep underground, then I'm sure the nuclear facilities, the civilian nuclear facilities, they're all civilian. I'm sure that they were even better protected, because that was always going to be a potential target. I mean, the Iranians always believed that, or at least the leadership always believed, that we're ultimately going to face aggression. And one of the key targets was always going to be the nuclear program. So it was, the key elements of it were built very deep underground. And militarily speaking, I think the Iranians are more prepared than they've ever been before. But the economy is difficult, but we are moving towards a wartime. We're transitioning to a wartime economy. And this, I think, clearly indicates that Iran is preparing for a long war.
For the first time, which I was surprised, I saw Sardar Naqvi, one of the main advisors of the head of IRGC, talking with the mainstream media. And he mentioned that the ultimate goal of Iran is deterrence, which is important. But do you think that deterrence gonna come? The conflict which was supposed to be a regime change, so-called regime change in Iran right now, it's all about the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think that's gonna, this stage of the conflict would bring deterrence, or it's gonna be a bigger sort of scheme? It's all about the whole acts of resistance achieving some sort of deterrence at the end of this conflict.
I think it's no doubt the entire axis of resistance, because we're dealing with two regimes that have, and their allies and proxies, that have no moral compass. I mean, just last night, the Israeli regime slaughtered a family in Lebanon, a woman and her children. They were all massacred. And it's not even in the Western media. They don't care. Western journalists. And by the way, quite a few Western journalists do watch your show. And I know this from a producer of a major media outlet in the West, who says that people over there do watch your show, and a couple of the other important online shows. But of course, none of in their media, they don't show any of these things. But or bring on people who speak in critical of the West. But in any case, what happened in Lebanon last night was a massacre. But there's total indifference in the Western media. And what happens every day in Gaza is there's total indifference. So Iran knows that it's dealing with a political establishment in the West that has no moral compass. They're just brutal killers. And so, and they will, if they have the ability to destroy Lebanon or Yemen or Iraq or Iran, they'll do so, just like they did with Syria, in the name of freeing the Syrian people, they destroyed Syria with the collaboration of regional regimes bound to the West. And those, those people who are on the Qatari payroll or the Saudi payroll or Erdogan payroll or the Emirati payroll, they can say all they want, but the facts are the facts. And this was a proxy war to undermine Syria, to strengthen the Israeli regime, and they to a degree succeeded. They failed in certain ways because their proxies were badly weakened during these years of war. But they also succeeded in breaking the bridge between Iran and Palestine and Lebanon. It's made it more difficult. But in any case, this is about not just Iran; it's about all of Iran's allies in the region. And we saw the statement made by the outgoing chair of the Supreme National Security Council the day before he was to be removed, stating that this for an agreement to come about between Iran and the United States, the MOU has to be implemented in full, and he explained what it means, because in, for example, Article 1 of the MOU, it says Lebanon and the other fronts, but in his final statement he said Lebanon, Palestine, not even Gaza, Yemen, and Iraq. And of course the new chair spoke of Gaza. He said Lebanon and Gaza, so it shows that Iran is going to be very protective of its allies, and it will not have an agreement until all these allies are able to feel, the people in these countries are able to feel safe and secure. So it's not just about Iran; it's about the region. But deterrence also means that they strengthen Iran's military, but also I think a final decision has been made in Iran, and I think that those in Iran who used to believe that Iran should have a stronger relationship with the West, that school of thought has been demolished. No one takes it seriously anymore after what the United States did to Iran last year in the 12-day war, and then in this war, and how the Europeans basically, like a bunch of seals, like in the footage that you showed, European leaders just clap for Trump no matter what atrocities he carries out. European journalists and European parliamentarians, if he says he's going to exterminate the Iranian people like they exterminate the Palestinians, they won't protest, they won't, because it's just the system is just completely corrupt, and the facade has been removed. So the Iranians are going to be a lot tougher. So deterrence means that they will have the ability to make sure that the United States regrets what it has done, or the Israeli regime regrets what it does. And I think Iran is moving in that direction. That doesn't mean that we are heading towards better days. I think the situation for the region and the world is going to get significantly worse, if not much worse, before it gets better. But I think we are moving in that direction.